Hey y'all, so in this video, I just want to go through the lineup and kind of provide just like a quick summary of each of these dermatoscopes. This is by no means a fully inclusive review or discussion of all of these, but this is instead, if you came up to me and said, hey, just tell me something quickly about all of these, this is kind of what I would go over. All right, so we'll start over here with the DL1. DL1 is the very tiny, they say, stick of gum sized dermatoscope. DL1 is really all about those who truly just want a dermatoscope on hand, but they want the smallest possible size to it. So if somebody's really particular about not wanting anything big or heavy, DL1. However, it uses the same relatively small lens that we find on the DL100 and the Carbon. So it gives you that portable convenience, but I wouldn't want to limit myself to having such a small lens throughout the day. But that's just me. So DL1's all about portability. DL100, probably used before. They're probably the most common dermatoscope just for the fact that it's the least expensive. I used one for years and years. People who are new to dermoscopy, it allows you to visualize and see the finer details, and it's reasonable size, lightweight. The DL100 is polarized only, which is fine. That's what most people need. And lens, 15 millimeters. Now compared to, say, the DL200 lines, 25 millimeters, so almost twice as large. The DL4 is 30 millimeters. So yeah, it's a noticeable difference that if you used a higher end dermatoscope, you'll notice the difference. DL100 and the Carbon, they're both battery operated rather than rechargeable. So you do have to purchase a battery whenever it runs out, which for me, and I use my dermatoscope all the time, when I had that DL100, it was probably about every 6 weeks. 6 weeks, 2 months. I mean, they last a long time. Really, main difference between these two is that the Carbon has the two settings: surface, linear polarization, as well as deeper cross polarization, whereas the DL100 is the deeper cross polarization only. The GL, I really, really like the GL. I wish I had one in front of me. It's very easy in the hand. It's almost like a stick. It's polarized only. It's targeting those who are kind of no-nonsense dermoscopists who are using it to screen through and evaluate lesions, whether they need a biopsy or not, but don't necessarily care about the different viewing modes like with non-polarized. And it does not offer the option to do contact dermoscopy, but again, most don't ever do that. And it has decent, really kind of mid-range, good-sized lenses on them. The downside is that the highest magnification lens is 6x and the lower magnification lens is 1.4x. So again, for screening, it's plenty, but if you really want to take a really closer look at any given lesion, may not be quite enough for you. In one of the videos, one of the comments I make is that it would be good to have a GL as your carry around dermatoscope, but have one of the other larger lensed, higher magnification dermatoscopes on hand in the office available for if and when you do see a lesion that needs a closer look. Lumio S, if you happen to know anyone who uses a Lumio S, talk to them, because Lumio S is kind of, they have a, I think it's a little bit much to say a cult following, but people who use the Lumio S love the Lumio S. The lens is huge. It's the biggest of any typical handheld dermatoscope. It's 40 millimeters. Now, it's listed at only being 4x, but I'm telling you, it's hard to explain. Even though it's only 4x, it feels, when you're using it, it just feels like you're getting much greater than 4x, because you really do feel like you can see some of those finer details, and that lens is huge. People who've grown accustomed to using the Lumio S, especially for screening, being able to see not just the lesion, but the surrounding skin all within the field of view. That's how people are with the Lumio S. Once they get used to that, it's very hard for them to consider dermatoscopes that have smaller lenses. But it is in that category of screener type dermatoscopes that if you really wanted to take a super close look at any given lesion, you would either want another dermatoscope or you would want to have another dermatoscope at least on hand to do that as needed. The DL200s, they're the same, except that the DL200 HR is polarized only, deeper polarization only. DL200 Hybrid offers the surface as well as the deeper polarization. But again, from a practical standpoint, most spend 98% of their time in deeper polarized mode, and that's why we sell a fair amount of the DL200 HRs. And it's a little bit less expensive for that reason. They offer the full 10x magnification, and the lens is big. Now, it's kind of like the mid-range big. At 25 millimeters, it's almost twice the size of these dermatoscopes, but not quite the size of some of these. DL3N is the one that I often refer to as like being the Rolls Royce of dermatoscopes. It's a very, very quality dermatoscope. Aluminum body. It doesn't have nearly kind of the plasticky feel that a number of dermatoscopes have. It almost feels like an heirloom type of a dermatoscope. And many who are seriously into dermoscopy favor the lens within the DL3N. It has an excellent lens and very precise, excellent viewing. It's a bit on the heavy side. So that's the DL3N. DL4s, the W and the regular DL4, same except the DL4W. The W is almost like without. The DL4W is without Pigment Boost. So Pigment Boost lighting, on this chart, you can read some more about it. It's the option to have that orange amber light tone when you're examining lesions. It's interesting to play around with it. It legitimately adds a different color tone to your field of view, and some find that helpful when it comes to evaluating variations in pigmentation. But if you like the DL4 and everything about it that it offers, but you don't really care about Pigment Boost, that's where the DL4W comes in, and we sell a fair amount of those for that reason, because people just realize they don't necessarily care to have Pigment Boost and they'd like to save a couple $100. All right, so that's kind of a crazy rundown of these different dermatoscopes. Couple other comments. These here, the DL100, the Carbon, and the Lumio S are not MagnetiConnect compatible. There's no way to connect them directly to your camera through the MagnetiConnect system. However, you can just go old school like I've done and many probably have done before. Just hold your camera up to the lens if you want to take a good photo. That would be for the one-off photo here and there. Now, if you wanted to have the dermatoscope used in the clinic to directly upload dermoscopy images to patients' charts, and especially like your staff is helping you do so, you would want one of the MagnetiConnect compatible dermatoscopes. I mean, look at it. How many times do they take blurry biopsy location photos? And those are just regular photos. So the odds of staff, when it comes to staff taking pictures, you want to do everything possible to remove any potential barriers to taking a good picture. Anyway, so these three are not. I think I mentioned DL100 and Carbon, they're battery operated. Everything else that we see here is rechargeable. DL3N, it's rechargeable, but rechargeable on this base. And so it's worth mentioning that because all of the other rechargeable dermatoscopes, you can have a USB cable in each room to recharge as you're seeing the patient. The DL3N, wherever the base is, that's where you need to bring it to recharge it. So I'm going to leave it at that. I know it's a lot of information. Just let me know if you have any questions, okay? Thanks.